One day, Bertie was idling at the top station. He was waiting for Thomas, who was bringing his passengers to connect. A few minutes later, Thomas arrived at the station with Annie and Clarabelle. "Sorry we were late," he said. "There were broken points on the way here." That doesn't count, Thomas," beeped Bertie. "You engines are so slow, I have to dawdle about at the stations until you bring my passengers. It's time. I brought passengers for myself." As soon as his passengers were on board, Bertie set off for the Helens, leaving Thomas surprised at what he just said. The very next morning, Bertie woke up. It was nearly time for his passenger routine. He was still upset with having to wait with Thomas for his passengers again. Suddenly, he had an idea. When his driver came in, he explained something. "If I collect all of my passengers as well as Thomas's, then I could get all the passengers on time without having to wait all the time for Thomas." The driver wasn't sure, but agreed. With a cheerful honk honk, Bertie set off to collect his passengers. As he sped along the road, his driver was talking loudly. "If we collect all of your passengers as well as Thomas, your loading capacity will be damaged." But Bertie wanted to get his passengers on time, so he took no notice of his driver's warning. At the airfield, some workmen were waiting for Thomas to collect them and take them to the quarry, but instead they saw Bertie approach. Not wanting to wait, they instead decided to travel on Bertie. Soon, Bertie had to collect more passengers. Some of Bertie's passengers were waiting alongside the road, and that's when Bertie had to stop. He was very pleased with himself. At the yards, Thomas was collecting Annie and Clarabelle. When Thomas arrived at the station, he was surprised to see none of his passengers were there. "That's strange," he thought. "My passengers should be here by now." Then he realized. "Cinders and ashes," he cried. "Bertie must have taken my passengers. I better go check on him." Meanwhile, Bertie was enjoying rolling along the lane. Suddenly, he felt something strange around his axles. Soon, he came to a stop. The passengers were surprised. His driver got out to see what was wrong. "The passengers must be too much for your axles," he said. "We can't move. We'll have to wait for help." Bertie sighed. "If only I had waited for Thomas and his passengers," he sighed. Just then they heard a familiar whistle. "Whew," he sighed. "I'm glad I could find you. What's happened?" "My capacity is worn out," Bertie groaned. "Please, can you take my passengers as well as your own? They need to get it to the station quickly." "Certainly," called Thomas. Annie and Clarabelle were delighted to see their passengers again, and Thomas puffed away to the station. Soon, Thomas arrived at the top station. When Bertie returned, the passengers were pleased to see him again. But since then, he promised to be patient and wait for Thomas's passengers.